therapist or somebody who can hypnotically regress you, and I'm not going to judge your story. I'm going to write everything down. If it's a really good one, I'll give it to Kathleen Marden or Dr. George Medich. But that's different. That I'm serving a different purpose when I do those cases. When I get a CMS case, computer management system, that's if you report a UFO and you want to have it investigated, I'm going to use a scientific method. I'm going to use, Occam's razor as my friend, and I'm actually going to try to debunk it, because I know if I don't debunk it and it's a hoax, somebody else is going to debunk it, and we're all going to look stupid. We're going to look silly. So I'll try to debunk those myself. And after I put a case through all the paces and I've interviewed the person multiple times, if that case still stands, I will proudly go and I'll post it on Facebook too. I hear that, MUFON cases disappear into the ether. Well, no, they don't. If I have a true unknown, I'm going to proudly share that, and I'll share it in different forums too. Because I think it's important. I think that the truth is out there, and that we need to make it accessible to people. But there are two different kinds of investigations I do. If you want to speak with me, and you filled out the Experiencer Research Team questionnaire, I'm not going to sit there and try to debunk you. I'm going to listen to your story, but I'm probably not going to go and share your story on. And most people that are experiencers don't want their stories and their names out there anyway, because there are still implications with jobs and such, and ridicule. Unfortunately there is still ridicule out there. As open as people have become, it's still out there. But for the UFO cases, if you don't say that you want to remain anonymous, I will talk about your case, and I will investigate it. I'll try to debunk it myself. I'm going to hope that it's a real case, And 95% of the cases that I close for MUFON are prosaic objects. It's the same rule of thumb that Dr. Hynek had. He said 90 to 95% are, jet afterburners. They're balloons or this, that, the other thing. That 5%, it'll drop your jaw. And I know we're not alone. It's not even, it's unequivocal. It's not even a question to me. We are not alone, folks. We have been visited. We perhaps have been visited for millennia, but things are ramping up right now. It's on the front page of the New York Times. It's on your favorite news channel, whatever that may be. The stories are out there. They are reporting them differently than they used to, and there's a reason for that.
Well, they're not making it like a joke anymore. Before, going back 10 years ago, when they did report it, it was like a joke, and they made fun of it. Now they're actually broadcasting it as serious news information.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, I will tell you two more real quick stories before we get out of here, and then I want to know a little bit more about you, about your music, and that little thing you sent me that I watched on YouTube. But, I used to have a friend. You remember Republic Airlines years ago, back in the 80s?
Sure, yeah.
One of my friends I got to know, because, I don't even remember how I got to know him, but he was a vice president of one of the departments of Republic Airlines, and I got to know him real well. He served over in the war, Vietnam. He was a colonel. He used to fly a B-52 and drop what he would call eggs over in North Vietnam. And he told me one time, was he heading back towards Japan, he looked out of his cockpit window and he saw a UFO off this wing. Now, he did what he said, the dumb thing. He got on to the horn and, informed whoever that there was a UFO following him. And then eventually it took off, and he said it was gone instantly. Well, the time he got down to land, and they had like a whole bunch of Jeeps pull up next to the plane, they divided his crews up. They were all taken into separate rooms and interrogated. And he was told by, if he ever said anything again, bad things could happen to him, his family, and he had to sign some type of statement, he told me. And he said he's never told anybody about it, but he told me, which, hey, that's kind of interesting. But he also told me that if you're a pilot and you're flying commercially, you never want to say you saw a UFO. Never say it over the microphone, never say it over the air, don't report it. And there was that one Japanese pilot that reported it, and he almost lost his job. I mean,
they grounded him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they temporarily did. And he got a good attorney to fight it. He managed to, stay aboard and fly. But I mean, normally a lot of pilots lost their flight status because they reported a UFO.
I was up in Alaska. Yeah, that was a very well-known sighting. Well, it is now. Thankfully, he had enough nerve and verve to himself that he did come forward and he did talk about it. But mostly pilots won't report it because the repercussions are too great. Yeah, you'll lose your career.
Yeah, instantly.
I've spoken with many pilots, and they all, many pilots have seen things. And Vietnam War. They had a thing that would get reported called it was VC helicopters. Now the Viet Cong did not have helicopters,
nope.
But that was how they referred to them as. And our visitors seemed very, very interested in our warlike behaviors. They seemed very, very interested in the negative things about us, like our nuclear arsenal. They want us to know that they can turn our nukes off, and that's a thing. You can. Robert Salas last year, he went and spoke to Los Angeles MUFON. And I've spoken with him at length. And, he's a commander of an underground nuclear base, and they turned off every single nuke. He just watched them go click, 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 click. And then they brought them back online just to say, and we can do this too. Yeah.
And there was also reports, too, around the world that all of a sudden, a UFO was sighted, and all of a sudden, actually, some of the missiles would turn on like they were about ready to launch, and then before they went to the cycle to launch, it turned off. So, I mean, I think
in the Soviet Union, too. Happens there.
Yeah, they were trying to say to us, "Hey, we got control of everything you do."
I wonder what's going on in North Korea right now. That must be interesting. I mean, I'm guessing that they must have a plethora of UFO sightings with the stuff they're doing. They're attracted to our nukes. They don't seem to like them very much.
No.
They're sending us a message about that.
Well, it's one way to end the world real fast, isn't it?
Sure is.
Now,
I mean, it might affect other dimensions. It might affect things that we don't even know that it affects. That's the thing.
Now,
there's a risk for them now.
Oh, yeah. One thing I do want to say before we start talking about you here, that, this in the last month and a half, they actually saw something come out of a black hole. Up to then, they have never got a photograph or anything of anything coming out of a black hole. And that kind of now debunks the whole thing that if something goes into a black hole, it's all torn apart and never is going to come back out. Something came out, and that maybe is one way how they travel, too. Maybe they know how to go through a black hole.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's an Einstein-Rosen bridge, and Einstein thought that it might be possible to transverse the cosmos that way. Yeah. So,
Well,
interesting, huh?
It is. I mean, it's getting more interesting every day. Now, let's get into a little bit more about you, about that video you sent.
What was that?
Oh, that little video clip you sent me today.
Oh, sure. Well, that's I have a project, a music project I'm working on. I'm a musician as well. Again, I'm one of the many guitar players, songwriters in Los Angeles, and most of my energies went into that for many, many years. I think when my mom passed away, my energies started diverting more to trying to figure out, trying to prove my mom wrong when she said, "This is realer than you will ever know." I want to know. I think it's possible for me to know. So a lot of my energies went that direction. But yes, I still do a lot of music work. My wife and I actually do vocals for other people. Just did a studio session for a friend of mine, David Piper, who's working on a solo album. But I had an acoustic duo. We have a couple of CDs that are out there that you can actually listen to on Spotify, or if you want to buy a copy, you can get copies of one of our 2 CDs on both Amazon as well as cdbaby.com. And the duo is called Piper Grey. It's Piper with a slash, Grey, Gray, which is me, of course. And yeah, you know, I'm an active musician. I love it. It's my passion in life. You know, my whole life seems to be a balance between the UFOs and music. And we find, you know, what's funny is we find a connection there. You know, over the years, I've gotten to know other musicians, some of them famous. And for one example is Chris Squire from the band Yes, the great progressive rock band. And through mutual acquaintances, he became a very, very close friend of mine. And he had a UFO encounter. And he was very, very interested in the phenomena. I mean, he would want to talk about UFOs until 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And so it seems like there's a UFO/artist connection. And maybe it's, if you're an artist, you know, you're chasing this thing that's out there that seems semi-magical. Who knows where songs come from? You know, it's like Paul McCartney when he wrote the song Yesterday. It came in a dream. It seemed like it was already formed, and he just kind of chipped away everything that didn't look like a horse, so to speak, just like a sculptor would do. And it seems like magic, you know, but it's a real thing, and that's what I do. And maybe that helps me with my UFO investigations as well, because I'm used to bringing things to life that are kind of out there and that you don't immediately see with your eyes. But you learn to trust, once you've closed enough UFO cases, you learn to trust that they're there. And if you keep on picking at it, you're going to find the truth. And it's the same thing with music. It's the exact same thing. You're bringing something to reality that seems like it was already there, and we get to channel it, sort of. You know, it's like this channeling process that happens. And so that's a great love in my life. I continue doing it, and I do play gigs. If you go to my Facebook page, I am on Facebook. I think I'm actually up to my 5,000, the arbitrary 5,000 friend thing that they let you have. But I keep my Facebook page open to the public. So you don't have to friend me to write to me or to see what's on my page. And if I have any gigs going on, or if I'm speaking about UFOs at any events, like I'm doing Alien Con this June. Let's see here. I wrote it down. Here we go. June 21st to the 23rd, I'll be speaking on the MUFON UFO panel, as well as the Experiencer panel with Kathleen Marden, and my protege and dear friend, N.K. Cranda, will also be on that panel. So that's probably the best way to get hold of me if you want to talk more about this, or if you have an interest. I'd love to hear your stories, and I'd love to meet you. So it's Earl Grey. It's pretty, you know, I'm stationed out here in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley, and it's pretty easy to find me. So that's how I would, if anybody wants to get a hold of me about either music or UFOs, it's probably the best venue. Yes. You could also go to mufon.com to report your UFOs if you've had a sighting, or you can go to mufon.com and put in and go take the Experiencer research team's questionnaire if you've had an experience and an encounter.
Interesting. Well, Earl, our time is up. I'm going to have to get you back on maybe in July, and we can talk a little bit more about some of the investigations. We can maybe go over some of them and stuff like that. Hey, I'd love to do that. Really enjoyed having you on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. And again, you can find Earl on Facebook. I would recommend doing it. Also, you know, maybe support him by buying his music again on Amazon. And where's the other place you can find it? cdbaby.com. And that's the Piper Grey. Piper Grey is my duo. So, and we do have 2 CDs available there. Great. Well, Earl, hey, you take care. Our time is up. And again, you have a great week. and may the force be with you.
Thank you, Gary. You too.
Okay, you take care.